What's going on, gym bros and gym girls? My name is James, and welcome to episode 10 of Gym Bro Talks. Today, our guest is Sky Does Fitness. You'll probably seen him on TikTok, Instagram, or YouTube. Super happy to have him on the show. This episode is packed with so much information that I think is going to help you guys out a lot. So if you're on your drive to work, you're on your drive to school, or you're just listening on the side, make sure you're paying attention because this stuff is really going to help you. So I hope you guys enjoy the episode, and let's dive right into it. How you doing today, Sky?
Yeah, I'm doing good, man. Woke up a little. So I do play video games, bro, actually. And
Love
my
it.
brother just got me into a video game called Destiny. So my brother doesn't live here, so this is our quality time. I'm not good at the game, I swear. I'm not good.
Nice.
But that's our quality time. How we like wind down at the end of the week, a couple days out of the week. So well, I stayed up a little late, woke up a little late, but it's cool. It's all good. I
It's
feel
the
pretty good.
weekend.
Yeah, it's the
Yeah.
weekend.
Yeah, definitely gotta chill a little bit on the weekend. Hey, so if you
Yeah.
don't mind, telling everybody a little bit more about yourself. I know a lot of people already know you from TikTok and Instagram, but kind of maybe give us like a little bit of background of, how many years you've been doing this, what got you into
Yeah.
fitness and everything.
100%. I got you. So I've been a coach and or slash trainer slash online coach for the past like 9 years, man, since I was 18 years old. Now I will say the first couple of years where we never really know everything, but we think
Yeah.
we do.
Yeah,
You
no,
know what I mean?
100%.
So at that point, it's just kind of this is one of those industries where you need to always continue your education, right? So that's kind of what happened. It was like, okay, once I learned a little bit, I was like, okay, well, what's next? How can I
Hmm.
do this? How can I do this better? So that's kind of where this kind of came from, right? This content creation. Now, I will say, in the beginning, I kind of had to do this, had to be a trainer. I had my son when I was 20 years old, or we had our son when I was 20 years old,
Hmm.
and my girlfriend was 22. So with that came the stress of like, I was working at the mall. I had three mall jobs actually.
Mm.
One was at American Eagle, one was at PacSun, and one was at Dillard's. So all three. And I was like, okay, well, I have to step up and be a man, as a father, right? As a new father. So that's kind of where I took this fitness thing a lot more seriously.
Right.
Um, and that's kind of how it started, right? In doing so, I became a coach, a trainer at Gold's Gym, and I was there for about 4 years before I kind of saw, you know what, there's probably some potential in handling more people without having to give a lot more time because obviously as an in-person trainer it's more about like trading time for
Of course.
investment
Yeah.
versus like providing value, providing a service, getting someone more efficient results and being able to handle more people, right?
Hmm.
So then I ventured off online or on my own. Actually, I started coaching people out of my garage gym to be completely honest.
Nice.
And then from there, it was like, okay, if I'm going to coach people on my garage gym, how can I start to attract more people online? And then kind of the rest is history. I'm a vegetarian, been a vegetarian for probably like 5 years. And yeah, man, that's kind of a little bit of everything. Father, vegetarian, trainer for the past 10 years. And now here we are.
There you go. Basically, the Instagram bio right there. So,
Basically, the Instagram bio.
yeah, I'm actually a vegetarian as well,
Yeah,
right?
that's crazy.
Yeah, so I don't find many vegetarian like fitness influencers or bodybuilders online, so it's really cool to meet another one here.
I
Yeah,
agree.
and I think a lot of people don't think you can build muscle on a plant-based or like without meat, because they're like,
Mhm.
where do you get your protein from? Or they
Mhm.
have this idea that you need this meat or some sort of nutrition from meat to actually build muscle, which is
Mhm.
obviously from what we know is completely untrue. I mean, especially look at you. You got like you've got like the biggest arms and biggest chest, right?
I
And
appreciate that. I will say about that is, how there's this stigma around plant-based eaters or vegetarians or vegans where we're always constantly like telling people we're
yeah,
vegetarian
yeah,
or
yeah,
vegan.
yeah.
Like I get the stigma, but like when you think about it, you kind of have to.
Of
Because
course.
if you're gonna order, like for example, me, I don't really promote it out there. I have it in the Instagram bio. It took me 6 years to actually put it in my freaking Instagram
Right.
bio. Um, to feel comfortable to do that. So
Yeah.
say like I'm eating out with friends, right? And I order something that obviously is plant-based or just a meat option, or I ask, right? Usually I'm met with a question like, well, why are you eating that? Or is that part of your diet? And you're
Yeah.
like, well, I'm a vegetarian. And then it comes out, holy crap, you're a vegetarian. How did you build that much muscle? So like then the questions come and it's like, well, I didn't really want to talk about it
Yeah.
because this is about us spending time together, not just about me being vegetarian. So like I get the stigma, but it's kind of like the stigma is the stigma. You know what I mean? No way around it.
Yeah, 100%. And I think people don't have a good impression. I just feel like people think that vegans and vegetarians are always pushing their ideas onto them, which is like another
Mhm.
reason why I haven't really, talked about it myself, and I haven't really put it in my Instagram or TikTok bio. But no, it's nice. I
Mhm.
think it's good to spread awareness about vegetarianism and veganism and stuff like that. But what
Mhm.
got you into being a vegetarian?
So I would say it's more of like from an ethical standpoint.
Of course.
I think there was a point. Um, so actually, I haven't shared this story. I've gotten questions about this story on my TikTok and Instagram, but I
Yeah.
haven't shared it. Um, well, there's a first time for everything, you know what I mean? So
This is
what
perfect. Yeah.
happened was is I was already having thoughts of like, for some reason, there was a point in time where I just wasn't eating that much meat, right? Chicken is going bad in my fridge, or steak would just sit there in the refrigerator.
Right.
There was something that I just wasn't gravitating towards, right? And then I was like, okay, well, I have to eat this because gains, right? I have to eat this
Yeah.
because protein, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there was a point where I was coming home from church, right? There's a church in my town, my city, and a car hits a dog, right? This dog kind of got shot from underneath the car into in front of my car,
Mm.
in front of my car at the time, and I stopped, but I didn't stop in time, and I like the front of my car was on the dog, right? So I don't want to move. I don't want to move forward. I don't want to move backwards. I just got out of my car, kind of waved some traffic down and said to go around, put my hazard lights on, and like went to see if the dog was fine, right? And then I saw the dog and it wasn't passed yet, right? And so I immediately like my heart just dropped, right? And then a lady behind me was like, "Yo, I already called someone. You can go. You just have to move your car." And
Mm.
I was like, "Okay, well, dang, this kind of sucks."
Mm.
So got in my car and drove. And obviously, I heard the dog underneath my car, right?
Mm.
I got home and I immediately started bawling, bro.
Oh
It
my
wasn't
goodness.
even like I didn't mean to like
Yeah.
start crying, but like it just kind of happened, right? And then I was like, dude, well, crap, man. I just like finished off this animal, right? And I was like, well, let me like look into some things and make sure I can eat enough protein. You know what I mean? That's when the research started coming through. Then I saw a few documentaries. I saw Game Changers. I saw like
Gotcha.
all these documentaries that I don't necessarily agree with the agenda,
Right.
because in that you got to remember like a lot of these documentaries want to spark controversy. They want to they're pushed through the perspective of the individual creating the documentary who doesn't necessarily understand the science behind why they're experiencing certain things, right? So I didn't agree with them, and I was like, well, these documentaries didn't help your case really. So I just want to make sure I'm getting enough protein, and then make sure that I feel comfortable with my food choices, so I don't contribute to what I think is the issue. You know what I mean? So it's all selfish based, honestly. This
Right.
decision to go vegetarian,
Right.
not necessarily like I want to better the world, or I just don't want to be a part of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
To a certain extent.
100%. And I think like with the dog and everything, that's a very inspiring story, by the way. But like, I think a lot of people, they're like, it's just crazy how people take dogs as pets and then other animals kind of as food, which, kind of to me seems a little bit off, right? It's like, why are you taking care of one animal and you're killing the other animal? Um, and then you'll see like, I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen on TikTok, there's like videos of like people actually have cows as pets, or like many pigs as cats or
I
pets.
agree.
And it's actually really cute. And I think, apparently
Mhm.
apparently pigs are a lot smarter than dogs, like more intelligent. Yeah. Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cute.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually had a friend who had a pig as a pet shortly after the experience, and he wasn't allowed
Hmm.
to have it, but he had a little
Yeah.
secret Harry Potter room and had the pig in there. And whenever I would go over, we would ride
Yeah.
motorcycles together.
Yeah,
Whenever I would go
100%.
over there,
But
like I was just like,
it's, you know,
dude, like
it's not actually that hard to get
we
protein as a
freaking eat that
vegetarian, I
on the
don't
regular.
think,
Like it was
right?
just a personal thought. It wasn't like, yo, bro, we eat. Like he already
Yeah.
had it as a pet. He was taking care of it fine. But it's just like, dang, man.
Of
Yeah,
course.
I'm
Go for it.
good. I'm good, type of thing. Yeah,
Yeah. Right.
bro. Not at all. Not at all. I
Mm.
think people overcomplicate it a lot. Like I'm gonna rant a little, but when it comes to protein intake, right? Like people literally, I'm not even that jacked, bro. Like
Mm.
I'm not
Mm.
even
Mm.
that
Mm.
big, but
Yeah.
people freak out when they find out that I'm vegetarian. If I meet someone in person and they're like, "Oh, do you have an Instagram?" I'm like, "Yeah, follow me." And then they go and follow. And they're like, "Oh, you're vegetarian? How do you build muscle?" Like, I'm like, dude, I build muscle the same way that you build
Mm.
muscle. I just get a different protein source. Now, I will say, like, there's people, and this is what
Mm.
really irks me, right, when it comes to building muscle, is people
Mm.
say, oh, you probably have to take X amount of supplements, X amount of amino acids, X amount of this in order to get your protein, in order to be healthy because you're deficient in things, right? No, bro. Like you're telling me that I'm deficient and I have to be more mindful of your diet when the general
Mm.
population already is deficient in their diet, is
Mm.
already eating burgers, is already eating fast food, is already smoking, is already drinking. You're telling me that the person who eats like that or
Yeah.
consumes food like that is not deficient in something? So you're telling me because I have to be mindful of my micronutrient and amino acid intake that my diet's worse than yours? You know what I mean? Like guys, I think everyone needs to understand you can see results with any diet. You can see results
Mm.
with keto.
Mm.
You can see results
Yeah.
with paleo. You can see results with
I
carnivore.
know what you mean. I know
You're
what you
going to be
mean.
deficient in
I mean,
something, and it's up to the
I grew
individual to
up
be
being a
mindful
vegetarian.
enough
And so I
to
was surrounded
take the
by,
things that they're
I'd go
detrimental
to
in
school
and
and then
bring them
we'd
up
eat
to
vegetarian
par
food,
if you
and
want to.
everyone
You know
else
what I
around
mean?
me would just be, eating meat.
Yeah.
And then
It's,
we'd go
it's
work
me.
out
It irks
together
me,
in the gym for
bro.
PE class. And then, people be like, "Yeah, it's not going to work for you, right?" And so, growing up in that
Gotcha.
way as a kid, it might not feel the best, but, just, I pushed through it. And now I got to say, I'm a little bit more muscular than the rest of the guys. Yeah, yeah. Those- Yeah, so I mean, like eggs, egg whites, milk, cheese, especially foods with leucine content are very important to really intake there.
Yeah. Because you know the basics, right? You know what you're doing. You're a coach. You know what I mean?
Right.
Hmm. Yeah, 100%. I
Yeah.
feel like there's also
Right.
this. I think it's more of like a misinterpretation of like data,
Right.
right? Because in order to build muscle, like you need all amino acids to build muscle, right? There's nine amino acids.
Mm-hmm.
Leucine sparks the process, but you need all of the rest of the other eight to sustain the process of muscle building, right? Amino acids exist in carbohydrates. They exist in other food sources. They exist, throughout the entirety of one's diet. Of course, they're more prevalent in protein, and the more complete a
Mm-hmm.
protein source, the less
Yeah.
other things you need to essentially spark that muscle protein synthesis, right? So, like
Of
taking that
course.
into consideration, yes, animal-based products like whey, egg whites, chicken are higher up on the bioavailability of protein. But I am not only eating chicken. I am not only eating egg whites. I am not only eating. I'm eating a
Yeah.
blend
Yeah.
of foods
100%.
on any given
100%.
day, which can make up, as long as I'm getting my ideal protein target, enough protein to sustain muscle protein synthesis to build muscle. So that's how I'm relatively jacked as a vegetarian. You know what I mean? That's how we're relatively muscular as vegetarians, you know?
I wanted to get into a little bit more of the exercise uh, aspect of the whole
Yeah,
episode
let's do
here.
it.
So like I went through, obviously I do a lot of research, you know, before I run the episodes, and so I went through your TikTok, found a few videos that I kind of have questions about. Actually, first of all, I don't remember the exact video that you duetted me in. Was it the fat loss one, the 3,500 calories one?
Yeah, the 3,500 calorie one, I believe.
Okay, yeah. So I would say, like, for myself, I'm always trying to learn, right? I'm always
Mm.
like open-minded. I don't like to take the perspective that I'm always right. And so
Mm.
that's why I replied to the video, and I want to learn a little bit more from you as well. So
Yeah, yeah.
do you mind kind of giving everybody a little bit of a background on what you said in the video?
100%. So the common notion, there's like this myth. I don't even want to say it's myth. It's math, right? This
Right.
math, this math equation
Yeah.
of the calories that are in a pound of fat, right? That's kind of the standard. Typically, we recommend a healthy weight rate of fat loss being a pound per week, right? And in that pound of fat, there's technically 3,500 calories if you weigh the fat out and extrapolate the grams, divide it because there's 9 calories of
Right.
9 calories per every gram of fat, right?
Yes.
So with that 3,500 calories being the standard that we want to lose from a mathematical standpoint, it's not as black and white. It's not as mathematically correct to say like subtract 500 calories a day, that times that by 7, there's your pound of fat per week lost, right? I get that it does simplify things, but the body doesn't necessarily work like that, right?
Of
You
course.
have water weights fluctuate. Well, we all have a metabolism, right? And that metabolism is never one set point. People say, let me type in a calculator online,
Mm-hmm.
let me figure out my maintenance calories, or let me figure out my deficit, right? That number that it spits out for your maintenance, for your total daily energy expenditure,
Mm-hmm.
is an estimate from one number, but your
Right.
metabolism, if you moved more yesterday, was probably higher yesterday. If you slept longer today, it was probably lower today. If you were less active today, if you sat down on the podcast with multiple people, you probably weren't burning as much as if you were walking around,
100%.
having on a phone call. So like that 3,500 calories doesn't take into consideration the consistent moving that one would be experiencing per day, the daily weight fluctuations. Now, not only that, you have one's ability to adapt. I would call it the metabolic adaptation, right?
Right.
So, like someone who were to overeat 300 to 500 calories on one day might move more the next day in your body's attempt to compensate and burn the extra energy off or process the extra energy. You have the thermic effect of food, right? Where protein takes more energy to process, about 30%, 33%, than carbs and fats, right? So if you overeat on protein, less of that protein is going to be stored as body fat versus if you overeat on carbs and fats, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like there's all these little variables that would be needed to take. I wouldn't say needed to be taken into consideration. Again, for some people, we want to keep things simple.
Right.
But just saying, let's get into a 500 calorie deficit and do that for 7 days will yield 1 pound of fat loss doesn't necessarily
Doesn't
mean that.
equate. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't equate
100%.
because yeah. I would say, I guess a direct example would be if you're taking in less energy, you're inherently going to be tired more because you're taking in less energy.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're tired more, you're not going to move as much.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're not going to move as much, you're not going to burn as much.
Mm.
So that 3,500 calories might not be
Mm.
3,500 calories in a deficit by the end of the week, unless you're keeping track of your steps and they're the same every day.
Mm.
You're eating the same every day. Your training's the same, on the same program every week. But then that's where a structured program would come into play to try and hit that. But even so, we can't predict it. You know what I mean?
100%. No, I love that. Thanks for that. That's a very good learning point
100%.
for myself. Um, so since we're on the topic of, like, I know just before the podcast you were talking about how people don't really like react to duets that way or stuff like that. I was going through one of your videos this morning. It was the quad training one, like the one where you lean forward a little bit and then you get that on the quad machine. And then I saw a comment, right? Someone said, Coach Ishak already made a video about this. And then the first thought that came in my head was, okay, but like just because Coach Ishak made a video about that, does that mean like Sky can't make a video about that? You know what I mean? And so
Yeah, I think that this there's a very toxic side of
100%.
social media. People have this sense of entitlement just because they learned something from one influencer, they have a hard time overcoming the perspective of what they learned from said influencer and their opinions. And so when they see another influencer create it, take a look at JPG, right? The guy who's known for the single arm lat pull down, right? Anybody who makes a single arm lat pull down video, I've got some backlash on it too.
Yeah.
They're like, well, JPG already covered this. Why are you talking about this? Because JPG, there's this person who said this and they said this. Why aren't you giving them credit? Here's the thing, man. If we were really going to try and give everybody their due credit, we would take the person who first invented the bench press and put that in the topic of every press video to make sure that they get their due credit. You know what I mean? So, like, I think it's very shallow. I think it's very negative. I think it's very toxic to go onto someone's account who's trying to portray or trying to give information and just tear them down because someone already created the video.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Right.
It's so it's crazy, man. I don't like it.
I hate it. I really don't like it either. Have you had experience with Coach Ishak, like commenting on your videos or whatnot?
Yeah, I have actually blocked him, to be completely honest, because there was no time of day given towards my side. He pretty much went on that video and said, this is completely wrong, and then put ... without like explaining why.
Right, yeah.
And I think like talking through, and I mean, pretty sure he just doesn't know who I am. He just thinks, I try to see it from their perspective, right? As
100%.
he is more scientific, evidence-based, kind of uses big terminology and tries to, I guess, simplify that for his audience in a sense. When me, I'm more laid back. Although I use scientific terminology, I try to, again, talk to who I'm speaking to, right? Yeah. And I would just like, from his perspective, to actually have taken the time. If you went to the video, might as well take the extra seconds to see what I'm about, right? To ask a little bit, well, why do you think this? And then we would have a productive conversation. Look at us, right? I did a duet. You commented positively. I was like, yo, this guy's really cool. All right, he sent me a message. Let me follow him. Let me see what he's about. Okay, cool. He wants to have a chat. Like, if we can set it and make the time, let's freaking do it. Like, why can't this be more regular among creators? You know what I mean? For a disagreement. In that video, we talk about two versions of the leg extension, right? Now, there's 4 muscles to the quads, but there's only one of those muscles, the rectus femoris, that crosses the hip joint, right? It's the one that's in the center above the other 3.
Right.
So, in a typical leg extension, the leg extension is the only exercise that loads the quads in their completely in as short a position as you can get, because squats don't do that. As you're standing up in the squat, you work essentially to lengthen and you stand up, and then there's less tension because of your leverages. So leg extension is like by far one of the best exercises for your quads, right? Now, if you're sitting back in the leg extension and you fully extend the leg, you're still not completely shortening the quad. You know what I mean? Until you lean forward, right? But if you lean forward, here's the argument. Here's what people like have a hard time understanding. When you lean forward, you put your rectus femoris in a completely shortened position, right? Because you're leaning forward, which kind of takes away if you bring your knee all the way down. It's not in a fully stretched position, right? Which would be the position that's the most advantageous, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. So if you lean forward, you target the area of the quad of the rectus femoris. You target the end range of motion, the shortest position, in a less advantageous position to your other quads. Because we spend so much time training the other range, we've always, sat back on it. We spend so much time there. We spend so much time squatting. We spend so
Yeah.
much time. We don't ever get into the completely shortened position. So the main argument is don't do that because you place the rectus femoris in a state of active insufficiency, right? That means it is inefficiently contracting compared to the rest of the quad. So in my head, okay, if it's insufficiently contracting because we neglect it, because we don't sit forward on the leg extension, I'm thinking, why not do that first? Because it's the weakest part of the quad. Then we lean back and finish out the rest of the quad because that range of motion is a lot stronger. So, like, why can we have an awesome conversation about why I think it's effective versus just saying this is completely wrong? Stop making content. You don't know what you're talking about. Does that make sense?
No, of course. Yeah. I've never
But
done the quad extension like that before, but I'm gonna try.
yeah, try it, bro. I've cramped. I've cramped because it's so weak. It's so neglected, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, man. It's essentially like a lateral raise, right? And the lateral raise, we train this range of motion all the time, right? But if you slightly lean forward, sometimes you can get into this range of motion, which is an area that's completely neglected, right? You can call it a Y raise, you can do it with cables, but it's the same thing. We're just training a difference we're putting tension on the range of motion that we neglect, right? It's the same thing, but people have a hard time like understanding that. So they see it as wrong, which is probably also why the video did really well because people are arguing in the comments, to be completely honest. So yeah, it's interesting. Really interesting.
Yeah. No, that's crazy. I just had a really weird deja vu moment there. For some reason, I like remember you saying that exact same thing. Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah. Hey, bringing it back to the Coach Ishak thing. I started TikTok a while ago. Before Gym Bro Talks, I had another account called James, just like my name. And I like that you said we should have more of a foster a better community in the fitness industry and the creator community. And I really like that. And I remember when I first started, well, I was at about 30,000 followers at the time, and I had made some videos. And I remember, Coach Ishak just went in and commented, and he was just like, you know what, like you should just stop making videos. And I remember when he said that, and it was like, like this is a very the thing is I don't like calling people out. Again, like I want this good environment for people to be in. But I remember when like Coach Ishak was at like 300,000 followers, and at the time JPG was also around the same amount of followers, like 300,000 as well. But
Yeah, we started at the same time actually.
oh,
Me
you
and
started at the same
JP.
time? No way.
Yeah, we're actually friends. He grew so fast, bro. When he hit like 600, bro. The next time I checked, I was like, bro, you're already at 3 million. He's like, dude, I know. It was
Yeah, it's
crazy. I was
crazy.
like, yeah. That's kind of that sucks, man. I don't like that to just tell you to stop making videos.
But no, I hope the best for him. I think he's still working at it, but awesome. Like I mean, his videos are definitely pretty informative as well. So I mean, I hope people can find his videos and utilize them in their own program as well.
Yeah, like it's not that he's like a bad creator. I think
Yeah,
there's
exactly.
just in the science. I think there's extremes on any like plane essentially.
Yeah,
And when it comes to people who tend to be more evidence or science based, they tend to be closed minded to
100%.
feeling things, right? Even I just made a video about feeling it in your chest, right? The pinch press and how it's not an effective chest exercise. Like, of course, like you're gonna feel it and it does something for your chest. But to say one thing is not as effective and say something like, oh, you should never do this is kind of it's interesting, right? It's a line because you can make the argument like there's a time and a place for like a front raise. I do front raises. I get some backlash because people are like, well, you do enough bench press. If you do shoulder press, if you do bench press, you shouldn't need to train the front delt. You should spend more time on the lateral head and the rear delt. And then I comment, I'm like, but this is a form video for front raises. Like I'm not gonna, you know
Yeah,
what I mean? This is an
right.
exercise video, not a how to train your shoulders optimally video.
It all of a
So
sudden becomes like a lot of the viewers and the audience become like experts in the in the subject and everything.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Oh man, it's hilarious. Like this whole optimal thing. That's the problem with people who don't understand it. You can even say like people who do, right? People who understand optimal, what actually optimal training is.
Hmm.
Optimal depends on the individual, their
Yeah.
biomechanics, their goal, their current training age, and if you take all these things, their weak points, if you take all these things, then you can say this would be more optimal compared to this. But if you
Yes.
don't have the this is optimal compared to this, just saying, well, this is more optimal, you don't know what their goal is, you don't know what they're training for, you don't know who this is for. Um, yeah, bro. Because I'm trying to do a three plate, I'm trying to do a weighted pull up that is 70% of my body weight, so about 165 pounds. I want to do that a weighted chin up for that. That's my goal.
Mm.
So when I see, if I post me doing a lat pull down, I get riddled with this isn't optimal for your lats. Nigga, I'm not trying to train my lats specifically. I'm trying to train my upper back so I can make sure I'm strong enough to do a weighted
Yeah.
pull up over time. It's hilarious, man. It's hilarious.
No, I understand that. And since we're on the topic of like lat pull downs and cable rows, um, I was talking to, I don't know if you know Kevin Wu.
Not familiar.
Not familiar. So Kevin Wu is another fitness influencer on TikTok.
Mm.
He likes to do his cable rows, and it just reminded me of him because I saw one of your videos. You also do your cable rows with a slight lean forward sometimes. And
Mhm.
is that kind of the same idea of leaning forward inside of a quad extension?
It depends. It depends.
Right.
So for a row to build your back, it's more about the line of pull of your elbow is going to dictate what part of the back you're doing. So if you
Right.
think about a row, right? Let's say you're perfectly at a 90-degree angle that you make with your body. If you lean forward, right, and you drive the elbow to the hip with a slightly rounded back, this
Right.
is going to bias more of the lats, right?
Okay.
Because if you start to retract your scapula, you start to engage your mid back, right?
Mm-hmm.
So driving the main function of the lat is bring the elbow to the hip. If you were to stand, not lean forward and stand roughly around the 90 degrees, and instead of driving the elbow to the hip, you bring the elbow up and the line of pull is higher, you're going to target
Yeah.
more of your upper back, right?
Right.
Now, there's been a little bit of controversy of do you need to round your back forward in order to contract it effectively to take advantage of a greater range of motion? Now, I think so. I think so for sure.
Right.
Because your back, you can move your arms without contracting like your back at all, right? Your back mainly is involved with scapular retraction, depression, moving your scapula around.
Yeah.
So if you can take advantage of the stretch, right,
Mm-hmm.
even with the slight lean forward, depending on if you want to work your lats or not, I think that that's ideal for the biggest range of motion you can while under tension. Does that make sense?
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. So this is why I think if I were to choose two back exercises only, it would be the chest supported row and a weighted pull up or a pull up or a lat pull down, anything vertical. Just because your chest is supported, you don't have to worry about generating any lower back fatigue. And you can
Mm.
get that full stretch while also getting a full contraction and not have to worry about using momentum.
And that's another reason why I think a lot of people are saying that the T-bar row, the landmine T-bar row, is not like the
Hmm.
best exercise. I find like, I mean, obviously it would work if you do it enough, but I do think like when you're in that position, in that hinge position, your hamstrings are working, your low back working, your glutes are working, and it kind of takes like maybe your legs might get sore before your back even gets sore at times, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. I think that's another reason why using straps is a good idea
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
obviously your back muscles are bigger than the muscles of your grip. So what's going to give out first, the bigger muscle or the smaller muscle? But then you get pushed back like, oh, you should train your grip, or that's why you have small forearms. I'm like, yo, dude, come on, just train your grip separately or do a superset. You know what I mean? It's hilarious. But yeah, I agree with you. I think that when it comes to bodybuilding, building an aesthetic physique, you want to focus more on what's going to cause the greatest tension and what's
Right.
the most efficient for your progress versus what's the most complex exercise. For
Mm-hmm.
example, I train handstand push-ups, bro, on the regular.
Mm.
I don't post it too much because my clients aren't going to hire me to train the handstand, you know what I mean? But I do post it because I do train it regularly. And people ask me what I do for my shoulders. I do I do handstand push-ups, I do front raises, lateral raises, and pretty much that's it. I'm not going to tell someone if you want to grow your shoulders, do a handstand push-up. Like, no.
Yeah.
You got balance involved, you got stability involved, you got the skill of actually being upside down, you got the blood. No, I would just say go do a machine and do an overhead press. And that will be best for building your shoulders versus trying to learn how to do a handstand push-up, you know?
But then the handstand push-up is way cooler.
But it's way cooler, man. It is way cooler. I'll tell you that much. I will tell you that much.
Hey, how did you get practice it? Because I've always wanted to do handstand push-ups. I can kind of hold a handstand now, but I never got to the push-up part.
Gotcha. So I feel like it's two things. It's strength and balance, right? How did I start? Is I started on the wall once I got to doing a handstand. Now the handstand thing, I think the handstand was a funner journey than building the strength for the handstand push-up, to be honest, because once I got to holding a handstand for like 10 seconds, I was like, every week was like, okay, let me try and beat 10 seconds. Let me try and hold it for 12. And then I was tracking things on a notepad, and it was like 11 seconds was this week, best set, 12 seconds, and then so on, all the way up until about a minute and a half, right? Once I got to about a minute, then I started like, okay, well, I can hold a handstand now. Let me try and press. And yeah, it led to a couple of face plants, I'm not gonna lie. So I'm not gonna lie. But I would say using the wall is your best friend. And for any skill, you want to try and replicate that skill as closely as you can and scale it down to the level at which you're at. So do you know what a pike push-up is?
Yep, I know what a pike push-up is.
Yeah, you kind of walk your butt's in the air, you walk your feet up, and then you do a push-up at an angle. I think that is probably like the best thing where someone can start, because when you think about a handstand push-up, a free one, you're coming down like this and then coming back up to keep balance, right?
Right.
If you train the handstand push-up on a wall, the wall is completely vertical.
Straight,
You don't have room to come down. So even if you're getting good on the wall, that's why CrossFitters, I can speak because I do CrossFit as well. That's why CrossFitters can't necessarily do a freestanding handstand push-up, but they can do a crab ton on the wall, kipping whatever it is, or kipping regular strict, but they can't do a freestanding because the wall keeps you straight. You know what I mean? Keeps the path straight, and it's not specific to learning the handstand push-up, which is going to bring me all the way back to telling people that things are not optimal, right? Because the skill, the goal that you have, you need to train in a way that's going to be specific to the goal in order to see the fastest progress. So if I'm training a handstand push-up and I go to do a strict overhead press, I also get, that's not optimal. You should do it seated at an incline and do an anterior depth press. I'm like, well, no, because I want to engage my core and I want to press in the path that is going to be most conducive, that most replicates the handstand push-up. But people don't understand that. It's hard to understand that. So,
and I think like I'm not very educated in the in CrossFit, and I think a lot of people like almost kind of like laugh at it in a way. But like when we're talking about like, because I feel like from what I know about CrossFit is that it's more so like, you're training strength, but you're also training your cardiovascular system, and you're trying to be like really well-rounded, right?
I think the pushback with CrossFit comes from lack of understanding, to be completely honest. Let's say, I'm not going to say like CrossFit is I'm not going to say like functional training over bodybuilding. Like I'm not. I do everything. I literally do everything. I don't want to get any bigger than I am now. I'm cool. I'm happy with where I'm at. I want to learn more skills. I learned how to climb a rope the other day, and I was freaking impressed. I posted a video about it and everything.
Zombie apocalypse.
Zombie apocalypse, man. So there just happens to be a rope dangling in the middle of nowhere just randomly, right? I have to climb it, right? So that's the thing is what got me into lifting. I started with calisthenics. The reason I started with calisthenics is because what got me interested in training was parkour. You know what parkour is?
Yeah, like you jumping across buildings and stuff.
Yeah, bro. Like that was the most appealing to me. I wanted to learn that stuff. Only got to learning like a backflip, and the rest was history. But if I'm going to try and scale up a wall, right, I am not going to go to the wall, jump and grab the ledge, and do a strict muscle up on the wall. No, bro. I'm going to run to the wall. I'm going to put my foot there so I can jump and get there as fast as I can. I think it's the same thing with CrossFit, only now you have a time limit and a workout to complete. So what is going to be the most efficient way to complete the standard of this workout? What is a chin up? It's you getting your chin over the bar. What's the best way if I'm going to do 100 chin ups? Am I going to do 100 strict? No, that'll take too long. Let me do some kipping so I can do that, conserve energy, so I can handle the next task that's on my plate, right?
There you go. Right.
I think that's where people fail to understand is people, yes, there's fail videos, but there's gym fail videos in regular commercial gyms, bro. There's, you know what I mean? So like, there's gym fail videos everywhere, but people like to center that and say, you're going to hurt yourself. Well, you're going to hurt yourself doing anything if you don't do it right. So I think people just don't understand the goals behind why you would choose to do something. And that's kind of the premise of that negligence.
Yeah, and I think people should really try and understand the whole thing before taking a judgment at it or anything like that. Yeah.
I die every time I do a CrossFit workout. I still have yet to fully complete one at the RX level, at the way that I want, right? I've failed to complete one. I've been doing CrossFit for probably maybe 6 months. I have yet to complete a full workout at the best standard. I think they call it RX, right? The athlete standard. I die, man. I don't know how to pace myself still. I don't know how much energy a movement is going to take. But I can go and complete a workout. If anything, there's a TikTok sound that was going around, right?
Right.
And it was can we cuss on here?
Yeah, of course, man. Go for it. Yeah, 100%.
So there was a TikTok sound going around, and I might get hate for saying this. And I had just recently started trying CrossFit workouts, right? The sound is this. The guy walks, and they usually say bodybuilder, and they hit their foot or they hit their shin on something, and they go, and they don't say anything. They just hit their foot and move on. The second one is usually they'll put they'll put power lifter. They'll hit themselves on the shin and be like, oh fuck, right? And they walk off. And then the last sound, they usually put CrossFitter. They hit themselves and they go, oh daddy, my pussy hurts, and they fall to the that sound, right?
Yeah.
I think honestly, it's the other way around. Because your average CrossFitter goes knowing that they're going to push themselves and die in this workout, cardiovascularly. They're going to feel the burn. It's a hard workout, no matter what the workout is. The powerlifter is a powerlifter. They take a lot of rest, I understand. But like training heavy is pretty freaking hard. Now the bodybuilder, I would say is I would say, and that's coming from someone who would bodybuild, right? Yeah. But if you take a look at the workouts, I think going heavy, I think it's the other way around, because you can go in there, get 8 exercises done, walk out with a good pump, feel good. You'd be a little sore the next day, and you can go and train the workout again. But in CrossFit, you have an hour for just a class. If you're just even taking a class, not even just doing a workout, you take a class, they take you through the skills, but the conditioning part, you will die if you push yourself right. And that's it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and even when you're lifting, you take a 3-5 minute break in between each set, and you're just resting, right?
And you're just resting, bro. Yeah. And you get your energy back, and then you go in and you train to build muscle. And the most important thing is away from the gym when you're eating to fuel that. In the CrossFit, your average lifter in all 3 of these cases, CrossFitters are different, man. They go and they are, all right, well, I'm going to die today. What's the workout? They don't even know the workout until the day before. That's how insane these people are. You know what I mean? Of course, there's extremes and everything, and I'm not saying eating one of these is harder than the other. Yeah. But if you take your average, that sound is wrong, bro. Yeah. That sound, how these fitness influencers are making that sound, it's completely wrong. Completely wrong.
Yeah. No, I want to try and get into CrossFit. Honestly, I think it's a very healthy thing.
Yeah, I think it's very healthy to get uncomfortable. And everyone talks about pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. And what better way to take something that you make fun of on the regular, that you say when someone does a kipping pull-up, it doesn't count, than actually going and trying it. Because I still can't. I can do like 2 kipping pull-ups in a row before I lose out on the circular
Right.
momentum. Like it's hard. It's definitely hard. There's people that are more overweight than me, less in shape. I'm praised for how I look there, to be completely honest.
Mm.
But they're beating me, man. They were able to
Mm.
complete the workouts and I wasn't. You know what I mean?
Right.
So they have something I don't got, man, and I'm trying to work towards it. You know?
Yeah, actually, I wanted to talk a little bit about that, but I want to make sure with you first, where you just hit the 45-minute mark. Are you okay on time?
Yeah, I'm good. I have to go watch Doctor Strange in 1 hour, so we're fine.
Doctor Strange, man. I want to watch that. I'm excited for it.
Bro, I'm excited. I've been actually making more content around like superheroes. I just love superheroes, bro. So
Yeah, me too.
I finally feel comfortable enough in myself to start like venturing out, not away from fitness content and still fitness, but like I think, and you'll probably get this too at one point where I don't want to say it's hard to make content, but you can only repeat the same message so many
Yeah,
times,
I see what you mean.
and you can repackage it so many times that I don't want to say like you're ever going to run out of content ideas, but more so it's going to feel like you want to kind of venture out in other things or pull other things that you're interested in into this content creation period.
Right.
So yeah, I've been talking about like Batman. We just hit a video that hit 2 million views on YouTube,
Nice.
talking about Batman, what he would look like if he was light skinned, and I just compare my stats. Like I'm 230 pounds
Yeah.
at 6'2", and he's 6'1" or 6'2",
Yeah.
210 pounds, and people are like, "Yo, you don't even look like Batman," and some people are like, "Bro, but you look really good," and I'm just like, I don't care. I'm just talking because this is a fun little conversation, and that's it.
Like it's just in the word, right? You got to be like super creative and create stuff that people watch or people like. I wanted to talk about. You were saying how when you're doing CrossFit, there's people visually less in shape than you but can perform better than you. And I was looking at your TikTok again. I saw the video that you duetted. I don't know if it was a duet or a green screen, but it was of William Lee. And he's talking about how he's doing like 15 sets of 10 on the machine press. And then you go into the comments and you get people like, and I've gotten these comments before where people are like, this guy is like, quote unquote, more shredded than you, more ripped than you. So I'm going to listen to this guy instead of you. And I think for one, like number one, just because someone is more shredded doesn't mean they're correct, number one. And number two, just because they're making that content doesn't mean they are doing that content. Number three, they might even be enhanced. They might have super good genetics. I think, again, like you said, a lot of things, there's just a lot of variables that really come into play here.
Yeah.
That kind of thing, right?
I agree. I just posted a chest workout, an at-home chest workout.
Yeah.
Bro, people are like, "Did you really do this to build your chest?" I was like, "No," but someone asked me for an at-home chest workout, so I created it.
Right.
You know what I
Okay. Yeah.
mean? So, will this get me a chest like you? I'm like, well, not like me, but someone asked for a chest workout, and I tagged the guy who asked for it, and I just posted it. He's like, "I don't have any equipment." He's like, "Thank you." I was like, "Yeah, man," but I didn't do that circuit to build my chest, you know? Not that it's not going to
Yeah.
help if you're, relatively, but when it comes to Will, right? Will is a character, man. He is someone who knows how to grow on social media. He's smart, even though people don't give him credit for it. He knows how to grow. And he looks the part. Now, for Will, we're actually friends. He's a cool dude.
That's
I
awesome.
don't agree with everything. I've called him out on a few things, and he's like, "Yeah, bro, King, I appreciate you, but like, this is my thoughts." I was like, "Yeah, man. I mean, I still love you, bro. You're cool."
Yeah.
With that, but back to those comments, yeah. Just because someone's shredded doesn't mean they know everything. Just because they are telling you a group of exercises to do doesn't mean really anything at all unless they are backing and giving their reasoning behind it, which I think gets lost in translation. And I think it's hard because in these algorithms, Instagram, TikTok, is going to push the most aesthetically pleasing people that raise to the
100%.
top, right? Either you have to be very, visually appealing on video, or you have to provide epic information or any of the content, you know what I mean, or entertain. Yeah, bro. It's gonna like self-filter into some people who may look the part but don't necessarily know all the ins and outs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then again, once you start losing out, right, especially if you have more knowledge about a certain subject, of course you can create more topics about it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't, and you start running out of ideas, that's where I think some of these creators who look the parts or who are growing based off of that. Not to say that they're not putting in work, but like that's where they can start giving weird information. And it's not. I think the most dangerous people are not. Excuse me. I think the most dangerous people are not the person who doesn't know what they're doing putting out content. I think it's the person who knows more or less what they're doing, but then they start giving every now and then they give some bad piece of advice, because how would you know?
Yeah,
How would you know
100%.
like whether it's bad or good?
100%.
And I think those are the people that we need to watch out for. I'm guilty of it too. I've said I had a hard stance on keto and I was like X keto da 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 da, but like keto is just another diet that if someone can stick to it, they can stick to it. I don't like it, but like
Yeah,
doesn't mean I have to completely talk mess
100%.
about everyone who does it.
Yeah. And
Interesting.
obviously, like, no hate on William Lee. I think he's a really cool guy.
Yeah,
I
he's a cool
like,
dude.
yeah, I messaged him and I wanted to like get him on the show. And he was like, yeah, I'm a little busier now, but in the future, definitely he'll come on. So I think it'll be cool just to have like a variety of different people, learning
Yeah.
about all the different ways you can train, all the different ways you can eat and stuff like
Mhm.
that. Um, I wanted to talk about I've seen a lot of videos of you saying the four sets of 12 is not the best formula to go for. And I was
Mhm.
talking to Zegler Monster, I think like 2 weeks ago or something. And then I
Yeah,
was
super
asking,
cool dude.
yeah, super cool dude, right? I was asking him, I'm like, hey, should you always train to failure? And then he's like, yeah, I train a muscular failure all the time because
Mhm.
um, if I train to failure for like 1 or 2 sets, then I'm like, if I do it so well that I get to true failure, then I'm done. Then I can move on to the next exercise.
Yeah.
Is that kind of the same idea as when you were saying, don't do 4 sets of 12? Because if you are doing 4 sets of 12, you might not be working hard enough.
Yeah, I think so I want to say freaking Ziggler, man. We're about to do a collaboration if I ever freaking fly over there.
Oh, nice.
Um, yeah, he's a super cool dude. I actually want to collab with more people this year or next year too.
That's awesome.
But I think he has a lot of merit in that statement. Now, I personally don't like to train to failure all the
Okay.
time,
Okay.
but if you take a look at my training style, I track. I mean, he tracks everything too. I've seen his freaking notebooks, but I don't like. I like to make sure I'm consistently making progress within a given rep range, and that's
Mhm.
why I said 4 sets of 12 isn't good, or a trainer telling you to do 3 sets of 10 isn't necessarily good, because if you're going to do 3 sets of 10, if you hit 10 on all three of your sets at the same weight, the first 2 sets are probably not that good, to be completely
Mm,
honest. And that's assuming that the third set is hard. I think
mhm.
that majority of people do not train hard enough to really see progress. They don't. Um, I could even see it with some of my clients, right? Like they will start and be conservative because there's some new exercises in there. They're trying to get a feel for it. Um, and luckily they have a coach to say we're going to keep the same program for the next 4, maybe 6 weeks before we change things up, because now they're actually getting used to the exercises, they're getting used to pushing themselves, they're increasing the weights, yielding progress. But if you take someone who's program hopping, right,
Mhm.
who sees a workout on TikTok, does the
Mm,
workout, sees another chest workout on TikTok, does that workout next week, you're never really solidifying
mm,
learning the exercises enough to push yourself hard enough to see progress. So going back to the 4 sets of 12, right? You are not training hard enough if you can get all 4 sets of 12. By default, if you were training hard enough, sorry about that noise.
no worries.
By default, if you were training hard enough, you would not be able to get the fourth set of 12 or even the third set of 12.
Yeah.
My sets look like 12. I say 8 to 12 or 6 to 10. Usually it's 6 to 10. If I'm doing, let's keep the 4 sets of 8 to 12. if I get 12 on the first one, the next set, either I'm going to add weights that right then and there, or the next set, or it counts as a warm up unit, or the next set will probably be like 10 reps by default. Like involuntarily, I can't, if I push myself to absolute failure, I could probably get 11.
Yeah.
The third set will be like 8 or 9, right? The fourth set will be like 8. That's the weight I'm going to keep for a prolonged period of time so I can increase the reps using that weight, and then I'll make progress eventually.
Yeah, I think a lot of people should also keep in mind that, because I feel this for myself too, is when I set a certain rep range for myself, or like a certain repetition that I have to hit, even if my body can hit a higher rep, because I have in my mind that I want to hit 10 reps, I might already feel like I need to give up at the 10 rep mark.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
100%.
I think it's good that, in this kind of formula, is that you're not really setting like a rep for yourself. You're just pushing until you feel that the feeling that you want to go
Yeah.
for.
Yeah. I will say if I have if I'm doing something like that's body weight
Yeah.
based, that I can't necessarily track the weights. So for example, if I'm doing a pull up, right? Because I like to track numbers. If I'm doing a pull up, I used to be very over analytical, and I would like weigh myself in the morning on my pull up day and be like, okay, I'm 212 pounds. Okay, then I'll go to my workout and I'll put 212 pounds for however many reps. But then the next time I would do it, I would either be lighter or a little bit heavier. I'm like, well, I didn't get as much reps. It's probably because I'm heavier, and I'd be like, But essentially, if I'm doing a bodyweight exercise, I typically try to go towards like my max. I try to hit failure. For example, a chin up, because there'll be this burning feeling that you're getting with chin ups, and you're like, nah, dude, just keep going, just keep going, just keep going, and then you'll eventually hit a point where you train to failure. And then if I need to scale back the rest of my workouts because I'm hitting like the lat pull down or anything, those numbers are more solidified, so I can track those numbers. Cause you can't really track calisthenics in the same sense,
I see what you mean. Yeah, I want to talk, just like a last topic here, because I want to kind of expand Gym Bro Talks to be more inclusive with the gym girls as well. And I do know you make videos on stuff like glute growth, stuff like that. And I wanted to talk about the glute kickbacks, because I know a lot of people, they either, if they want to train their gluteus medius, they'll click to the side, and they want to train the back, they'll kick to the back. But I think in your video you were saying a 45-degree angle kind of is a good way to go.
Yeah. Most muscles need, especially for the glutes, man. Like the glutes are such a superficial muscle. Like I feel like we place a lot of value on the glutes, not even from an aesthetic standpoint, from but also from a ability to squat and deadlift standpoint as well, from a functionality standpoint. Of course, they look freaking good, awesome, but they are really functional or apply to a lot of different exercises. I think that the isolation of the glute medius, the biggest reason why I made that video is to say that you can do something to reduce the appearance of hip dips, right? But you can't, because I think that was the main premise of the videos. I was getting so many questions. Okay, you're posting glute workouts, you're posting glute growth, you're posting lunges, but how do I get rid of the hip dips? First off, if you're a female out there, you do not need to be ashamed of hip dips. I actually find them really attractive. My girlfriend has hip dips. I like them. So please, you're fine. If you're someone who wants to change that, please know that it's largely genetic and you really can't, because the hip dip dimple is created through the space of your like ilium. It's like a muscle. It's like and your hip, right? That's the space, and the further that space is apart, the bigger the dip, right? So with that, what can you do? You can only grow your glute maximus and your glute medius, and the glute medius is going to be best hit by going along the direction of the muscle fibers at around a 45-degree angle, and that upright diagonal kickback will train it more in a shortened position, which is a neglected part, kind of like we talked about earlier with the rectus femoris, right? So yeah, that's a neglected part. That is for someone who's struggling to grow their glutes. Well, let's take advantage of the part that you're not necessarily training on the regular and train it this way, right? The typical recommendation is to do the adductor
Yeah, I
machine.
was just gonna ask about that. Yeah.
So with that one, anytime we are in hip flexion, and we try to open up our legs, abduct them, spread them apart, your piriformis takes over the brunt of the load because you put your glute medius in a completely stretched and disadvantageous position for that because of the lean back. Now you can lean back a little bit, but then you're only moving outwards and not running in line with the directions of the muscle fibers of the glute medius in and of itself. So that's kind of the premise of anything, is you want to train the body part that you want in alignment that with an exercise that best aligns with the muscle fiber direction or the muscle fiber orientation of that muscle. Yeah, man, and I feel like that goes for a lot of things.
What do you think about standing up a little bit during the adduction?
I think if you're standing up, it kind of becomes more like skating, because now you're using your weights. Now your weights by default is going to be pushing down and opening up the like, I don't even know what to call, but the foot placement. If you're standing up, now you have direct gravity pushing down to open up those leverages, right? Versus using your muscles to
I see what you mean.
your muscular system to open it up.
Gotcha.
So yeah, that's kind of why I also have called out some people who are like sitting up and like skating on it.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I mean, that looks cool, but it's not going to be the thing that builds the muscle that you're trying to build.
The whole, our whole hour episode was a lot of informative and really fun conversation. I really enjoyed today's episode. Is there like any last tips, tricks you want to give the audience?
Nah, man, I think this was awesome, dude. I haven't done a podcast in a really, really long time, so this is pretty sick. I love it.
Yeah, I love it. I love it too, man. So your Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube is all Sky Does Fitness?
It's all Sky Does Fitness. The TikTok is changed currently to Sky Does Real Training. I don't like it. It's going back to Sky Does Fitness.
Why'd you change it?
I wanted to get fitness out of my name, to be completely honest.
Okay.
I was testing things out because I've been a coach for 10 years, and I'm 28, but I get a lot of times I don't look 28. I look younger. And in order to have more appeal to authority, I wanted to
I see what you mean.
appear older,
I get what you mean.
appear my actual age. So having just Sky Does Fitness is not that it's not catchy. I saw a guy, Matt Does Fitness. There is, I don't know, I saw a JPG has coaching in there.
Yeah.
Some people have coaching. Coach Chasm has coach in there. I was like, what if I just put like something? I don't know. I was playing with it. Don't like it, bro. I'm gonna go back to Sky Does Fitness.
Yeah.
I
And I
don't mind
think
it.
people know you as Sky Does Fitness now, those too, as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to change that is probably a little too late right now. Yeah, man. But James, I appreciate you times 1,000. This was really cool, and I do hope that more of the fitness community can be more open-minded like you are, dude. It's cool.
Yeah. No, thanks so much for taking the time to come on to the show. Well, there it is, guys. That's episode 10 of Gym Bro Talks. Thanks for joining me again for another episode, and special thanks to Sky for coming on. So yeah, that episode was packed with tons of information, like I said before, and I want you guys to take that information and use it in your own program to upgrade that lifestyle and achieve that fitness goal that you always wanted to achieve. Anyway, this is James from Gym Bro Talks. Make sure you're subscribing, liking, commenting. I will see you in the next episode.